So what's going on, everybody? It is Dr. Jamar Montgomery, and you know what I realized? People are haters. People are haters. People are haters of things that they do not understand, of things that they do not comprehend. And what showed me that was all the reviews and everything that people have been giving on the movie Him. A lot of people thought that Him was directed by Jordan Peele, but it actually wasn't. It was directed by somebody else. But it's a movie starring Tyreek something. I recognize him from was from Atlanta, the show Atlanta, and it starred Marlon Wayans. And what I realized about this movie, there were a bunch of reviews about it, and I didn't really want to. I didn't want to. I was looking forward to seeing the movie. I was kind of apprehensive because there's a lot of demonic imagery in there. But when you actually go and watch the movie, the imagery makes sense with the story and message that they're trying to give, or at least I think that they were trying to give. And so there are a lot of reviews. People are saying that the movie sucked and that it was whack and this, that, and the third. And I don't know why they said that. Maybe they just didn't understand it. And that's where I'm going to chalk it up to, is that most people did not understand the movie. So, Him is a movie about this great football player that is getting ready to retire, and there's this new young talent that is coming up that is looked at as the next great. Well, Marlon Wayans played the character of Isaiah White, and the young brother, I think his name is Tyreek, played the character of Cam, the new and upcoming dude. And so he gets an opportunity to now work out with Isaiah, with Marlon Wayans' character. And there's all these things that go on to him. There's like this whole hazing and initiation process, but it's really, he was going through a camp to determine whether or not he was going to be part of the team. And the team name was called the Saviors. Let me go in into this thing. I think the part that people missed about this movie was there's two ways that this movie can be, or a couple ways that this movie can be taken. I looked at it from the perspective of how violent football is and sports are, and how we as a society are willing to have people experience traumatic brain injuries, experience CTE, major bodily injury, just for entertainment. And what the parents put these kids through from the time that they start playing pee-wee football to getting up to JV and varsity and college and even professional, the how the parents are involved in that, the coaches and the society is encouraging for people to go through this very physically demanding process, all for entertainment. Is it worth your health? Is it worth your mental health? Is it worth your physical health? Is it worth broken bones? Is it worth concussions? Is it worth contusions? Is it worth all of that in order to be a famous athlete, to be loved and cheered by other people? Is it worth it? And is it worth it if you don't ever make it to the professional or to the big stage? Is all that worth it? What are you willing to sacrifice? So that's one perspective. The other perspective was, now, how do you deal with somebody that literally you're threatened by? How do you mentor somebody that you're jealous of? How do you, as a person who wants to hold on to a position or hold on to a spot and they know that you cannot hold on to that spot, how do you hold on to that? So let me go into the movie. So the movie starts off with the little boy, Cam, who's getting ready to be the next GOAT, right? The next GOAT. There's literally kind of like an altar that's set up in these people's house, and he's watching the game. And they're watching the game. The little boy who's getting ready to be the next GOAT is watching Marlon Wayans' character score a touchdown, but he ended up suffering this very traumatic injury in his leg where his leg got broken. And the name of the team was called the Saviors. So I was like, interesting. Then next, there was the mascot was like this goat. It was like this goat, but it was kind of bloody, and I realized a sacrificed goat. A sacrificed goat. Goat also meaning greatest of all time. So you have the greatest of all time getting ready to be sacrificed. And now, who's going to be sacrificed? Is it going to be the old goat, or is it going to be the new goat? As you go through the movie, you start to, you see on the previews, like, hey, he's, there's this initiation process that he's going through during the camp. But let's back up. Before he even gets to the camp, the new goat suffers a brain injury. Somebody hits him in the back of the head, and you don't know where all this stuff is coming from. You're trying to figure out, is he dreaming, or is this stuff actually happening? And when you look at it, you find out that for some strange reason, somebody came and clocked him on the side of his head, ended up having a brain injury, and now he was supposed to go through the combine, but he couldn't do the combine because of his injury. So now, instead of him going through the regular combine and regular draft process, now he's going to a special camp with the old GOAT, Isaiah Washington, Marlon Wayans' character, and is given a quote-unquote second chance. But you find out at the end of the movie that them doing that to him, of him suffering that concussion where they hit him on the side of his head, that actually happened, and it was done on purpose so that he would be in that very position right then and there. So you're looking at it and you're like, whoa, you see the movie and you see him get hit on the head, but you don't know like what actually happened to him, if it makes sense. So the next thing, you see him go through this training camp, and the training camp seems like it's more of an initiation. An initiation of, hey, this is the weight that's going to be on your shoulders as a quarterback. These are the things that are going to happen to you as a quarterback. And you have to bring out the quote-unquote killer instinct when you're out there. During that process, you see he's surrounded by a doctor. You see that he's surrounded by training professionals, and Marlon Wayans is there the entire time, kind of molding him in this process. And you see how the new GOAT, right, the young guy, you see him really operate and shine under pressure. But it starts off is all these things that are happening to him, weird things that are happening to him in terms of he's throwing the passes, and every time he misses a pass, the guy gets hit in the face with the football. And it's like, I don't have to do this, but I want this position so bad. So I'm willing to, I don't want this guy to get hurt because of my mistakes, but I want this spot as well. So I'm willing to sacrifice this guy's face in order to prove that I'm good enough to be here. So the way in which our minds change as a result of being involved in things, and we think that we're put in situations that we never think that we would ever do or quote unquote compromise, but we can want something bad enough that we're saying that it's worth it, right? So what's the next thing? Then there were scenes where the doctor kept giving him shots and things like that to help him. But mind you, he's got a traumatic brain injury. So you're not really supposed to be doing all this stuff when you got a brain injury, because the brain needs time to heal. You don't need to be putting it under a bunch of pressure and things like that. What I'm looking at was there's a doctor in the movies, he said something about like, it's a shame that you have so much talent and I've set you up to be perfect or something like that. And it was almost like you didn't know if the doctor, the new GOAT was having issues because of performance and things like that. And so the doctor was giving him shots. And you didn't know whether or not those shots were there to help him or there to hurt him. Then when they were hydrating him, they were giving him some green stuff. Everybody else was drinking something that looked like regular water. So you never knew, are they there to help him or are they there to hurt him? And you're looking at what was Cam willing to sacrifice versus what was Marlon Wayans' character willing to sacrifice, Isaiah White. That becomes important because it's like Cam, the new GOAT, was willing to sacrifice himself and his body and all those things in order to take that new position, Marlon Wayans' character was willing to sacrifice the new GOAT in order to maintain his position just for one more year. So that was interesting. Like I said, going back to the doctor, you're looking at the doctor, you don't know what's being given to him. There were some moments in the movie where you see that there's a little bit of jealousy that Marlon had towards the new GOAT, because it's like he's realizing he's only got maybe one more season left, and then that's it. One more season, and that's it. Throughout that process, what made me question whether or not they were trying to help him was because they kept doing things to him that were not good for somebody with a traumatic brain injury. One of the things that they did was having him do all this strenuous physical activity. It's not good if you have a traumatic brain injury. The second thing was putting him in a hyperbaric chamber. It seemed like all the things that they were doing to him were to sabotage his success so that he would be weaker in the end. Under any other circumstance, being in a hyperbaric chamber to help heal yourself and everything would be good. But when you have a brain injury, you're increasing the pressure in the room or decreasing the pressure in the room, and that has an effect on the brain. There was a scene where he was in a sauna, and high temperature, high heat, and high pressure, not good for somebody with a traumatic brain injury. But, you know, the new didn't know that. He doesn't know that. He's thinking, hey, I'm being mentored and I'm being prepared by the best. They're not going to do something to hurt me. Little did he know. The next thing, they had loud sounds and flashing lights, something that's not good for somebody with a traumatic brain injury. All those things could further his injury and as a result, not be able to even play in the first place. But realizing that he is being set up by the person that's supposed to be helping him or mentoring him. Throughout the movie, what I realized is that they isolated him, and as a result of his isolation, they were able to manipulate him. The doctor tried to give him a warning, then Isaiah tried to tell him, and then the wife, she was the one that put the icing on the cake of manipulating him into saying, hey, there might be some rituals and stuff like that. Don't worry. And he's like, what kind of rituals? He's like, just don't worry about it. Just kind of ritual stuff. And you see these things that are going on, these quote unquote sacrifices that are going on during that time. And what I mean by sacrifices is that you realize that there's folks that are actually getting killed in the movie. I looked at this movie, and at the end of the movie, it was a great scene, but you find out that this whole thing had been orchestrated from basically when the kid was extremely young. That it was so orchestrated that his father was involved in the process. It was so orchestrated that at the end, there's a picture of the new GOAT's dad and the owner of the Saviors team when he was a kid, but the kid didn't realize that he had met the owner of the Saviors team. That's how deep it went. Right? So now, after watching the movie, I was sitting there, I came out the movie and I was like, I think people missed, in fact, I know people missed the messages and the things that I was saying that I've gone through in this particular video, in this review of the movie. I know that they missed it. 1, traumatic brain injury. 2, the fact that we're willing to sacrifice people's health and their well-being all for our own entertainment. It says something to us about us as our culture, that those are the things that we're willing to have people sacrifice. And there's something interesting. There's nothing wrong with sports, but there's something inherently violent about football, right? The modern day gladiators, and the arenas are the modern day coliseums, and how people are lining up to either be the warriors of the coliseum or to be the spectators of the blood sport of football. I thought it was a great movie. I rated it a 7 out of 10 because I like psychological thrillers, and it wasn't so much of a horror movie. It was more of a thriller, psychological thriller. I think that people missed it, and what's very interesting is I think folks was hating on Marlon. Like, you're entitled to what you feel about movies. I just think that when you don't understand something, or something isn't necessarily clearly explained to you in that particular way, it doesn't really get a fair shake. And I don't think this movie got a fair shake. So this is my fair shake of the movie. The visuals were outstanding. The sound was great. I think it was a real good movie. Is it something I'll watch again? Definitely watch it again. And I'll even say that, like, they did their thing. Marlon gave a great performance. He gave a great performance in it. And even the supporting cast gave a great performance. The young cat, Tyreek, he gave a great performance as well. It wasn't a bad movie. I'm glad I got to see it. And here's the cool part. I see this movie, and I had a very special lady with me, coming with me to Qatar. We went to go see the movie. So now we're just here in the airport, at Qatar Airport, and I'm giving this movie review as we got folks walking in the background and everything. But yeah, it was a good movie. It was a real good movie. I don't know, babe. What'd you think?
I think the movie was awesome. I think the bowling was even more awesome.
Oh, we didn't talk about. See, now we're going into more moon bowling too. But the theater was nice, right? The theater was nice.
Yeah. The movie
Uh,
was really good, though. I did like the movie. Um, I really don't have any complaints about the movie. I understand the symbolism of the movie, but it's just kind of like, what are you willing to sacrifice, and is it worth it at the end?
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
because the Marlon Wayans character kept saying that he put God last,
Put God last. Yeah.
and that he feels like he's football itself. So, you know,
He said football, family, then God.
yeah,
And what's interesting is that his mother, the new goat Tyreek, his character, missed calling his mom for her birthday. Well, he ended up calling her later, but
yeah.
it was just so many things that went on in that movie about, like, it was talking about sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? And to think that the what are the, what who and what are you willing to sacrifice? Because what the guy said is, if you win, he's like, well, what happens if I win? He's like, oh, well, I might. What he say? It was the last part of what he said. What the old goat said. What Marlon Wayans' character says: if you lose, I take your youth.
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
And I was like, yo, that's interesting. So yeah, that's my extended movie review of the movie Him. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please go out and go see it. Brother Marlon, you did your thing. Brother Tyreek, you did your thing. You want to know who my other favorite character was in that?
Cool.
The black trainer.
Yeah, that was funny.
I liked him. I liked his character. He's like, wake your butt up, nigga. So I was like, yeah, I liked that. So it was a good movie, real good movie. Something I would watch again. Once again, I like psychological thrillers, and that it was more of a thriller than it was a horror film. Um, what was weird was I couldn't tell if Julia Fox was a. I didn't realize that was Julia Fox. It's very interesting. But yeah, y'all take care. Y'all have a blessed day, and I'll talk to y'all later.